maybe this could be a thing. And then I just kept on menu and now it's our bestseller.
How did the way that you grew up influence what you're doing now?
I was born here, but my family is Filipino. So my parents met in San Francisco. I had grown up with both Filipino and American food. In the Filipino community, it's also hospitality is a big thing. And the inherent part is like you always want to make the person feel better. And like, you welcome me into your home, you want to make sure they're fed.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the basis of that, the hospitality culture.
Did you ever like work in the kitchen before this?
I worked at another bakery, so like at a college town bakery. It was just like front of house, like my staff here are. So I was a barista in front of house. I made leche flan, which is the Filipino flan, for my partner's mom. Leche flan is a the Filipino version of flan, and inspiration comes from Spanish and Portuguese bringing the flan over. But what the difference is between the Spanish flan and the Filipino flan is that Filipino flan uses condensed milk and evaporated milk. It's a hot nation, so like a lot of tinned milk is what was available.
Yeah.
Versus fresh milk, and so our version is a little bit sweeter. But we also I use French technique to make it more creamier than the typical flan. Well, it's my aunt's recipe, and my aunt she developed the recipe so that's creamier. This was their side job where they sold the creme caramels, creme brulees to restaurants in San Francisco. As a wholesale business. So they did it for 25 years, and I asked if I could use a recipe to bake for Sean's mom, and that's how we got started. Was just this, and also I needed a hot option during the cold time, so we did bread pudding. So it's essentially the same custard except we just we used challah bread at the time. And then so we did challah and then we had the creme caramel. So the two products that we had.
So when you come up with like the flavors, the ube, and you've got
The other different things.
the different flavors, was it something like, oh, we could try this, or it's mainly like, oh, we can try this type of thing and see how it works? Not this is in season, let's try that.
Yeah, well, it was around the time that we started was around the time the artisanal food movement had really gotten going.
Yeah.
We were part of Artisanal LA, which was like an artisanal markets that they had every like quarter. It was peak bacon and dessert time. That's when bacon was in every.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so at the farmers market, we only had vanilla, coffee, and chocolate creme caramel. And for bread pudding, we had vanilla, chocolate, and caramelized bacon was the third bread pudding. So those were the flavors. I just thought, oh, these are solid flavors. We can just start off with this menu. We started incorporating ube and buko the year after because we were invited to a Filipino cultural festival. And so we did the ube and buko pandan because those are two predominant Filipino flavors. And at the time, there wasn't a ton of Filipino dessert options. I mean, there were other Filipino food places, and there was the traditional Filipino foods that were basically brought from the Philippines, and they were just basically made their versions of them here. But what we were doing was incorporating like cookies and cream, onion, and like different American profiles that were a little bit different. And then, so at the Filipino Food Festival, I made the ube and the buko just as a one-off. And then I met John Eric, who is the owner of Park's Finest over in Westlake. It's a Filipino barbecue restaurant. Excuse me. And then he asked if we can make those for his store for wholesale. And I'm like, oh yeah, he was our first wholesale customer. I was still baking out of a commercial kitchen, and I was still working at my job. So doing all of these things, I'm like, yeah, well, absolutely,
Yeah.
And then that's when I started. Oh, we could do other flavors using farmers market ingredients, using local. We did a lemon blueberry. I did a emerald plum. The emerald plum season is my favorite season, but it's like very, very short. It's like 2 or 3 weeks of plums, and it's my favorite fruit, stone fruit. And we did that, and then it's just like different things. I tried to be a little bit more like, oh, let's try different things because that's what was engaging at the time. You have a changing menu.
Yeah.
And then what I have now in terms of like our flavors have all been developed over time, and also they are the most popular ones. And we also have to think about sustainability and how do we keep and our expenses low. So we have like that pared down the menu. Yeah, a lot.
Oh no, absolutely.
But the ube up to now pie is our bestseller, and that one is a purple yam pesto to the Boudet graham cracker crust, and that happened because of a happy accident. I was making the ube creme caramel flan for Park's Highness for the wholesale, and at the time I was the only one baking, and so all these timers were going off, and I thought I hit the oven or I took things out, but then there was a couple trays that were still in there, and they got a little toasty. We had trays of ube that were going to go to waste if I didn't like sell it. So I was like, I'll just put together a topping. So I made a graham cracker tuckering, and I'm going to brulee it for a little smoky flavor, and then we'll just sell it on the weekend for the farmers market. Ended up selling out. They were like, oh, maybe this could be a thing, and then I just kept on menu, and now it's our bestseller.
Do you remember your first regular customer?
Yeah.
When you got your brick and mortar up?
Yeah, we actually know the first, like almost like the guide 10 people. One of them is actually still continues to be our customer. Like they were not pregnant at the time that they started coming in. They had a baby, and now their baby is in middle school. That I've always wanted to have about the business was have a place that we see the kids grow. But also, not only that, it's people who are non-Filipinos have Filipino flavors early on and see like, oh, I need Filipino flavors. Like I'm familiar with ube and everything. Well, that's such a cultural shift for me because it's like, it's something I knew and something I love. But to have other people who are non-Filipino also know that and love that because of our store is also a big deal too.
Oh yeah, that's what's really making a mark on the community.
Yeah.
When you do something like that. Was there something that you were pleasantly surprised about after you opened?
And the support of the community for sure. And the thing that I've always wondered was like a sense of community that the community has definitely responded to like our store. It's the reason why we survived to this day. Like we survived through the pandemic, we survived through the fires, or everything. And despite everything, we still are canning because of this community.
They're really lucky. So what do you hope? What do you hope this space becomes over time?
I want a business that if we close, that people would be really sad. That people would actually feel like, oh my gosh, really hurt by it. We're really lucky to have the people that, come into these stores.